People cringe at the word self-love.
Everything just came before me.
If I actually say what I'm really feeling, I'm just going to set off a nuclear bomb.
I'll come to the pub instead of go to the gym, and I'll be like, yeah, all right then.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucy Davis, and I would also like to extend a massive welcome and thank you to Charlie Ward. We are actually going to be posting this video out to his community today as well. My coaches have just gone, what? When I said that to them. So I just want to say a huge hello to everybody. I haven't done a video with Charlie for a little while, but obviously where he is slightly under the weather still at the moment, we are going to be producing some content and popping it out on his channel to keep you guys amused, interested, and just give you a tiny little different perspective. So hello and welcome to absolutely everybody watching around the world. Underneath this video, please do comment where you are from so we can keep a beady little eye on that as the weeks progress. So today, this video is called How Do I Learn to Love Myself? Now, for those of you that don't know me, obviously my name is Lucy Davis and I am known around the world as the self-love queen. And this is because until 2014, I used to sabotage myself, completely sabotage myself with drink, with drugs, with, promiscuous behavior, let's call it that. Everything I possibly could, the food that I was eating, the lack of exercise, everything I possibly could, I would sabotage myself. And then in 2013, I lost somebody literally in 2 weeks today. How weird is that? 2 weeks today, I lost somebody very important to me. And that was the catalyst for my whole life to change. But of course, before we can change, we have to go through a massive, what I call breakthrough these days, but back then I called it a breakdown. So my physical health was stripped from me and I had a physical breakdown. What that basically looked like is my body would no longer work. I couldn't go to the toilet properly. I couldn't exercise properly. My head was in a pickle, but it was very physical symptoms. And so I had to take drastic action. Now, what happened off the back of that is I had to go on a wild healing journey, which I'd like to say, just to remind you all and to just ground you all into this, I'm still on that massive self-love healing journey. However, it set me on a path to create something intuitively, which is now called Self-Love Club. Now, these three beautiful women here that you are looking at are three of my Self-Love Club coaches. And they joined my first program that I ever ran. And off the back of that, they have subsequently trained to become my coaches. Now, we're not going to be talking about the program today, but I think it's very important that you know that these three beautiful ladies are three of my team of coaches. And what we do want to talk about today is very much how we got back into loving ourselves. You guys have heard my story so much, which is why I'm like, no, I'll get other people on to share. So let's start by introductions, because I think that's very important. Morwenna, if you could go first.
Hi everyone, I'm Morwenna. I am Lucy's head coach for the Self-Love Club program. I've known Lucy probably nearly 5 years now, coming up 5 years. Seems like forever.
Yeah.
And we've become really good friends. I work with Lucy on a number of things. And I've also gone on a huge journey of self-discovery and reconnecting with myself and actually what self-love is over those years. And I will be forever thankful for that. It's been a huge eye-opening experience and I can never go back to how I was. So I'm thankful for it.
It's funny, once you get on that path, it's very difficult to step off of it. Like, we do step off of it. I've done it very recently. I stepped off that path, but then I was like, whoa, what am I doing? And quickly step back on. Thanks, Morwenna. Marie, let's go over to you. Let's get a bit of an Aussie accent on the go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marie, and I live in Melbourne, Australia, way down under. So I've never met Lucy, but I was in her first Self-Love Club class, 2020. And I can't tell you how much my life has changed. I used to be grumpy, workaholic, burnt out all the time, felt like I had no control over anything in my life. And then, yeah, it all changed. But the funny thing about it was that I actually had a coach before Lucy, and I thought actually that I was doing great until I started. But I'm a totally different person, and I still can't quite believe it. But yeah, I also am eternally grateful. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. Thank you. This wasn't a like just
No, I know.
blow smoke up my arse. A couple of minutes, ladies. That isn't what this is supposed to be about, but I'm loving every minute of it. Thank you. It's making my heart expand even more. And last but certainly not least, the beautiful Caroline. Caroline, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Caroline and I'm a coach with Lucy. I was a pupil, no, on the 2020 programme as well. Excuse me a sec. I started following Lucy in late 2019. And basically, I was probably at my lowest points. Everything was falling apart. I didn't know why it was falling apart. And so kind of working with Lucy on the programme, I learned a lot about myself, and self-love isn't always just going and getting your nails done, going and get your hair done. And basically I had a kind of massive learning journey, because to me that was self-love. So it's been really nice to kind of unpick all those modern things and actually go for more basic natural things like being outside in nature and grounding and things. So it was completely like mind-blowing to me, but it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us. And yeah, let's
Caroline is totally out of her depth right now. She's like, Lucy, what are you doing to me? But it's so good to have you girls here. And I love doing these things. As you guys know, I absolutely love doing these things. So let's start with the basics. And I think, Caroline, what you just said was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of us think, oh, I'll go and get my nails done. Like, it gives me an hour to myself. I can be quiet and peaceful, but we don't actually switch off. And as much as for some people that is self-love, to other people like myself, smashing out a 10K run in the morning is self-love. Likewise, me going into a meditation retreat, as all of you girls know, because you have to cover my programs when I do it for 7 days. And I want to be isolated, and I want to be like literally where nobody can get hold of me. So first and foremost, and Caroline, thank you for raising it, self-love looks like different things to different people. Now, before we get into what that looks like, and obviously how do we learn to do that to ourselves, because that's the whole point of the video today, I just want to bring up a couple of points. And ladies, please jump in at any time if you want to add anything else. People cringe at the word self-love. I bet there's hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, that look at this video and they go, oh, little bit of vomit in the mouth. I'm not going to watch that. Sorry to be so gruesome, but you guys should know who I am and what I'm like by now. And that's the fundamental truth. We have made self-love like the word love. And obviously it is part of the double word. So people hear love and they think pain. People hear love and they think, oh my God, my last boyfriend was an absolute tool. You know, it's that kind of thing. We associate love with pain, hurt, and trauma. My mum said she loved me, but she abandoned me. My dad said he loved me and he ended up going away from me, like, you know, going to prison or like having to leave or whatever, or maybe he passed. And we build up this story in our mind that love is extremely toxic. And then when we look at ourselves and we put the word self in front of it, oh my God, we need to step back because this is danger zone. So to any of you watching this video, thank you for being brave, first and foremost. I commend and, you know, really appreciate all of you for being this brave. Now I'm going to blow self-love out of the water a little bit. How can you ever not love yourself when from the second that, sorry to be gruesome again, your parents had sex and that sperm met that egg and you were conceived, from that moment, all through everything that you've ever been through to this now moment in your life, but also what's to come until the point where you take your last breath and you pass over to the other side, that relationship is the only consistent in your life. The only consistent. People will come and go. Your children will grow up and they will leave home. I hate to break it to you all, but that's what's going to happen. So for conception to death, the only thing that we have is ourselves. We can buy houses, we can sell houses, we can buy cars, we can sell cars. Nothing else stays consistent apart from ourselves. So what fascinates me the most, and I'm putting my hands up because I was this person, it fascinates me that it's the one and only relationship that we sacrifice everything for. We sacrifice it for our kids. Caroline's a great testament to that. Well, all three of you are a great testament to this, actually. We sacrifice it for our partner. I think we're all a good testament of that at times as well, myself included. I don't have the children, so I can't comment on that one. And we do it to keep the other person comfortable rather than ourselves. So today, what I would like to do, using this beautiful video and this beautiful topic, is bring up to the surface of how we actually learn to love ourselves, but also what that looks like and how we can create this when we're in a relationship, when we've got children, because it's very easy. People often say, oh yeah, but Lucy, you don't get it. You don't have kids. And I love it because I'm like, but every single one of my coaches do. You know, and they're masters of this. They are literally Lucy walking in a different skin suit. So we need to acknowledge first and foremost who we are abandoning ourselves for. So Caroline, let's start with you. When you came onto the program in 2020, what was it that you had? I mean, you'd abandoned yourself completely, but who was it for, or what was it for?
I reckon it was family, so husband, children, job, because I work with children as well. So I think everything just came before me.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Morwenna?
I think mainly it was my relationship and Imi. At the time, I had completely lost myself in the circumstances that I now know that I chose for myself, but yeah, I'd say it was probably relationship more than anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you've got a really beautiful relationship with your daughter, haven't you? So it kind of it wasn't too draining a situation. And how about you, Marie?
So I would say a little bit, I lost myself as a mum, but not as much as I lost myself in my relationship and in my work. So I would quite often, my husband would say, how far are you going to bend over before you realise that you're going over the top for these people? So
A good saying.
Yeah, it really, I would just go over the top with, so I had very high standards of myself when it came to my work. And I'm a people pleaser. So I was, still am. I was a people pleaser. So, you know, I wanted to do everything for my clients so they would be happy with me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I had no boundaries when it came to the things that they were asking me for. Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
And with my relationship, it was like, okay, so just to keep the peace, because I know if I actually say what I'm really feeling, I'm going to get, you know, I'm just going to set off a nuclear bomb and I'm going to get all of that reaction that I don't really want to deal with, because I've got enough trouble like keeping it together now. I don't need anything else to come in and set the apple cart. Yeah,
exactly. So really good examples. For me personally, I sacrificed myself for my work. My work was the top priority until that moment where my health collapsed in 2014. And this will resonate with some of you guys that are listening out there. You know, Charlie's a really good example of this. His work for the last few years has been so intense. And here we are now going through a moment whereby we're being put on pause. And we're all going through this at different stages. And I think it's really beautiful that we can all acknowledge that. So for me, like I say, it was work. And I remember one of my partners in the past saying to me, Lucy, you've worked at 30, I think it was 40 hours of a 48-hour weekend. He said, I don't mean to be funny, but it's got to be your job or me. And I was like, all right, see you later. Like, I was that cutthroat. Like, my job to me was everything. It paid my bills. It gave me my independence. It let me travel the world, but it was killing me. And I literally sold my soul. As we know, I worked in investment banking. So I literally sold my soul to the devil to be able to live in this falsehood of thinking that I was looking after myself because I had cash and because I had money, when in reality, I was killing myself. So it's fair to say that the first step of self-love and acknowledging that we require it is recognizing how we've abandoned it. Now, Marie alluded to this, but for me, the first step of how you start to love yourself is something that I call standards. Okay, so for me, let's call it language that everybody will be able to understand. Think about it as a rule book. Okay, let's say you have got a blank journal. I'll show you this journal because it's absolutely beautiful. It's the Phoenix Rising, very appropriate. Isn't it? Isn't it stunning?
Yes.
It's beautiful. So let's say this journal has never had any writing in it before, right? And we open the first page and we say, right, what are my rules? What are my standards of my life in Lucy language? So first things first, if on this call right now, Morwenna started saying to me, Lucy, stop being so ridiculous. Oh my goodness. My first rule could be like, I'm not going to allow people to shout at me. I'm going to take a deep breath if that happens again. And I'm going to say, hey, Morwenna, I'm only here. You don't need to shout at me. Standard number 1 is then in place. So tomorrow when I'm walking down a road and some man is screaming at me across the road, I can look at him and decide whether I want to engage in that based on my standards, based on my rule book. Is this making sense? The only way that you can decipher what rules you have in your rule book or what level of standards you've got, how is that, ladies?
By knowing yourself.
Exactly, Caroline. You've got to know who you are. So if I was from, and I'm not being derogatory when I say this, Maria's Italian. Italians are quite loud when they communicate with themselves. If you are in a part of an Italian family, you don't mind people shouting at you because that's the way that you communicate. Spain is another place. What I learned when I was in Spain was that that's the way that it is. You know, you speak loudly to hear each other and whatever. So somebody like that might not want, they might be okay being shouted at. So this is why there is no one rule book for everybody. Let's look at another example. It might be that maybe you are somebody who loves to communicate. You love to communicate and you love to share with people where you're at and how you feel. Can you then be with somebody, or let's say, I go to Morwenna and I'm like, oh, babe, like I'm going through this right now and I could really do with some support. And Morwenna would be like, pull it together, man up. You know, that typical British man up malarkey. I don't know if that's around the rest of the world, but it's very much a British thing. Come on, stiff upper lip, get on with it, man up, you know, that kind of thing. Then I would have to make the decision, right, do I want to be around somebody like Morwenna? Is she going to help me get what I need out of this relationship? Because remember, whether it's a friendship, an intimate relationship, a mother-child, you know, any type of relationship, it's a relationship. Do I want that from my life? And then that goes in my rule book. Okay, when somebody shuts me down for speaking my truth, how am I going to respond to that? And I think all of you 3 ladies are a really good example of stopping your truth, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I'd love to hear from each and every one of you to inspire other people that are listening to this call right now. How would each of, like, what's one of your rules in your rule book? Marie, let's start with you.
I have a few, but around the voice, actually, I did not realise how much I'd shut down my voice until probably 2 years ago, late 2020. So, and it started with realising it with people, relationships around me, not my husband-wife relationship, and realised that I was doing things to just not so much fit into, just so they wouldn't get upset with me. You know, just, yeah, look, I don't care. I'm pretty easygoing. I don't care, you know. But I realised that I was suppressing all of this emotion. So when I was saying yes, when I really wanted to say no, F off, kind of, so, yeah.
So you were watering it down, Marie, yeah? You were watering down what you wanted to say to keep the peace.
I wasn't even watering it down. I was just keeping it inside.
Oh, wow.
And that, with my relationship, was the worst thing, because then I would suppress it, push it down, and then, you know, every 4 or 5 days I'd like explode because it was so much.
Which makes sense. Pressure cooker. So now, at the end of the day, it has to go somewhere, doesn't it, after a certain period of time?
So now, if I feel something, I allow myself to feel it, firstly, so I'm not suppressing it. And secondly, I speak my truth. So I had an interesting conversation with my husband today. He said, are you upset with me? And I was like, well, you know, if I'm upset with you, you know that I tell you, right? So if I'm not telling you I'm upset with you, assume I'm not, because you know I'll tell you now. Yeah, so that's my rule now. If I feel it, I just say it. with love, so not aggressive. But when you're not suppressing it all the time, it's not aggressive when it comes out. It's
Absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
can I just say, this is how I'm seeing it? And yeah, so my life's a lot less volatile now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing, Marie. Good job. Caroline, how about you, babes?
I think the biggest rule I've put in, and it's also the hardest rule I've had to learn, is about putting me first. I think because I put everybody else first for so long, that was default.
Yeah.
And so I've known, obviously, working with you, that I've had to put myself higher up that list. And now I'm at the point where actually, no, I recognize I come first because nothing else happens if I'm not first, sort of thing. And I know that sounds really selfish as well, but it depends in which sort of way you're looking at it. Because yeah, if I'm not present, completely present, then nothing gets done. You know, it's that kind of procrastination thing then, isn't it? Oh, you do a bit that, a bit that, a bit that. So no, start with me.
And it's only selfish when you're not comfortable with that kind of language. Like, I know if I'm not on my top game, my business suffers, my followers suffer, you know, everything around me suffers. So I have to be on the top of my game. And again, people can be like, oh, it's easy for you, Lucy, you don't have children. But it's like I've got thousands of children. When you know me and you work with me as close as these ladies do, it's like I've got thousands and thousands of children, you know. So I love the fact that you're honoring the fact that some people out there, Caroline, are going to think, oh gosh, she's selfish saying that, but it's not. As soon as we realize that for us to be the top of our game, our kids mirror us, our partners mirror us. Like, we've got some amazing testimonials, even just this year on the program, whereby people have gone, my husband didn't even do the program, he's like a different person. Like, how does this happen, Lucy? And I'm like, because of you. You have elevated yourself. So by default, that makes everybody else elevate around you. Really great one, Caroline. Thank you for sharing that. Morwenna, how about you?
Mine is communication. I need to be able to communicate. You know, that I've shut my voice down, similar to Marie, like for a huge amount of time. And stepping into self-love as I know it now means that I have to be able to communicate with the people that are in my life. Me and my daughter have a beautiful relationship where we can just communicate, and you know, sometimes it does get heated, not very often anymore, but she has a free channel to me because I am the same with her now. I've found myself in a number of quite toxic narcissistic relationships in the past, and I have stopped my voice completely because, like Marie said, it was just easier because I didn't want to upset the apple cart.
Yeah.
And now I realize that I have to be able to use my voice, and the people around me need to allow me to do that.
Absolutely.
I think being in a relationship with someone that shut me down every time I felt something or thought something or, you know, wanted to express something, has allowed me, like, I'm really grateful to him because it's allowed me to realize how important my voice is. And communication is 100% my top
Good for you.
rule.
Good for you, Morwenna. And actually, I think it's a very important piece of information that a lot of people out there need to hear. It is normal to feel.
Yeah.
It is normal to get emotional. It is normal, particularly for women, to want to feel safe. But men need to feel safe too. And if you are constantly being shut down, constantly being told you've got to pull it together, constantly, you know, basically being bombarded and told that your feelings are not important, it's a massive, massive issue within the communication stream of your relationships. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are happy to just bite their tongue, but they're riddled with sickness and disease. The issues that we've got here is that we're starting to, as we're going through the consciousness shift, is we're starting to say, hey, hang on a minute. No, I'm not prepared to do that anymore. And this isn't about a girl power, you know, badass, independent woman bullshit thing going on. This is literally people looking at themselves and saying, I deserve to be spoken to from love. I deserve to be treated with love. I deserve to treat myself with love. And, you know, all of you have kind of drawn on what I call triggers and traumas from your past to be able to have these standards and these rules in your rule book. So for me, every time I have a trigger or every time I have some trauma surface, what I basically do is I go, right, what's the root cause of that? And how can I change that going forwards? This is how I compile my rule book. That doesn't mean that I don't stay in situations longer than I should do, or it doesn't mean that I don't have that reaction. It just means I go, oh, I don't want to do that again. So how can I avoid that going forwards? It doesn't mean that you become somebody who lacks emotion or lacks empathy. That's not what we're here to do. What we're actually here to do is be real to ourselves. If you are somebody who's very empathic, you cannot be with somebody who's completely narcissistic. You cannot do that, because otherwise you're having to shut down your true essence to be able to maintain something with somebody. Okay, so keep on top of your reactions. And I don't mean suppress them. I mean, look at them, be honest with yourself, observe them, feel them, as Marie very rightly said, and then document it, put it in your journal, write it down, or in your, metaphorical rule book, as I like to call it. I think that's a really, really great place to start, ladies. And I really, because I just told them about an hour ago that I wanted them to jump on and do this video with me. There was absolutely no prep, because I never give anybody any prep. All of these girls would vouch for that. The next thing that I want to bring up into consciousness, because this is always a funny one through the program, is for me personally, I like to get people to take ownership of how they behave behind closed doors. Because if you stop and think about it, like when you're on your own, that's a true reflection of who you are. Now, I am literally an angel when I'm on my own. I get up early, I do my rituals, I go running, I, do everything that I could do. But then when I'm with other people, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'd rather just stay in bed and have a cuddle, or, and so that means I start to sacrifice myself for the other person. Now, I'm sure we've all done that, but I want to go off in a tiny little different direction, because that'd be far too easy for us. So let's talk about sneaking off to have a biscuit because no one can see me. Let's talk about that cheeky little glass of wine that we're pouring behind the scenes, ladies, because nobody's going to know that I'm doing it. Now, laziness is another one, right? So, oh yeah, I'm going to pretend I've been out for a run today, sweating and all the rest of it, when in reality you sat on your couch, just like a little couch potato, like that is who you are in your true essence. Ladies, would you agree? When you are on your own, that is the reality of the person that you are. Yeah, whether we like it or not, it's the truth. Now, like I say, I am unstoppable, literally unstoppable on my own. I'm up early running, I'm doing all of these things, but then throw other little nuances into the mix, and I sacrifice myself, and I teach this stuff to thousands of people. So if I do that, I know all of you guys are doing it too. So let's be open and honest about it. Let's not pretend that it doesn't happen. Let's go there, as I always do. So, ladies, who have you made? In fact, no, let's go back a little bit. What have you done behind closed doors in the last few years? Like not before you joined, because you've changed so much since then, but let's talk about it honestly now. Like, I'm being honest, I sacrificed everything that I stand for in recent months. For one reason and another, I did that. I didn't get up and go running when I always used to. I didn't perhaps have the juice and the whatever that I always did. And as soon as I got back to it, I was like, oh my God, I'm back to being me. And then obviously my standards started to change, and I wasn't settling for certain things. So talk to me about where you are. Caroline, let's start with you this time.
Thanks for picking me first.
You like being thrown under the bus.
Thank you. I think, though, being through your course has actually opened my eyes a lot, and I'm actually quite real. I'm happy to have a glass of bubbles, because if that fits with me, but I know how much bubbles I can take because I've learned that journey. So, 1 or 2 glasses is fine, 3 or more, and I pay for it. So what's the point in doing that? Yeah. I've lost I don't need chocolate anymore, so I can't comment about chocolate. I do still eat a bit of chocolate, but it's dark chocolate. So I do sort of go in secret. And I just know that any bad choices I make, well, bad by my perspectives, then they usually backfire on me. So yeah, why would I do it?
It tends to happen, right? How many times have we been humbled because we haven't stuck to our standards, ladies?
Yep.
Yeah.
All the freaking time. Why do we do it? I often go, you knew this. Like, why? Why did you not do it? Like, how many times do you need to be humbled? Okay, Caroline, thank you for that. Marie, what about you, love?
So talk about being humbled. I own it. I'm a sugar addict. I love food. I love cooking.
You're Italian.
I don't so much taste cooking the food while I'm making it, but I love food, and I'm Italian. So yeah.
I can't wait to come to Melbourne and come and stay with you for a bit.
But the one thing that I find that gets me, so I'm not really a drinker. I do find drinking water difficult. So that's one thing that I really need to work on that. And I'm constantly counting glasses, which is boring. But the thing with me is I cannot eat chocolate, and I cannot eat after 8 p.m. And I always get the reflux when I do, because and this is the thing that I do at night, I'm either bored or tired and I reach for the whatever comfort food. I'm really good all during the day, and then after 8 p.m. and then I have it, and then I lie down because I'm tired, and then I get the reflux every time.
We will teach you. We will teach you.
I know, right? So I've stopped eating after 8. Yeah.
Amazing. So you have
Every now and
repeated a
again,
pattern over and over and over, and God, the divine source, whatever you believe in, is going, we're going to remind you, Marie, this is not your bag. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. So every time you're humbled.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time.
It.
And then the test is the husband and the son. Not so much my son, but my husband walks in tonight with digestives, which are like round biscuits with chocolate. Do you want a biscuit? I'm like, no.
Yes, I do, but no.
Oh, yeah, I do, but
I'm like, no, yes. Yeah,
I know, right? Yeah.
I love that. Well done for saying no to the digestives today, Marie. Well done with you. And Morwenna, how about you?
I think mine's exercise. It's not something like in the past I've ever been able to do consistently. And for one reason or another, something will come in and they're like, back when I was like drinking not regularly, every now and again, it would be, I'll come to the pub instead of go to the gym, and I'll be like, yeah, all right then. I'd go to the pub. And I'll own it. I did, and that's what I was like. Now I'm very particular about who I hang around with, where I go, what I drink. If I drink, I don't drink very often at all anymore, and my exercise is consistent.
Good.
I can go to the gym between 3 and 5 times a week. I walk when I can and all that kind of stuff. So I feel much more consistent. And I think it was alcohol that was knocking me off the whole time. And I wasn't a heavy drinker. Like when I say I go out drinking, I probably drunk maybe like twice a month, if that. Wow. But when I drank, it was heavy.
Yeah.
So
so it knocks you out for a few days. Hi, my name's Morwenna and I'm a binge drinker.
I'm a binge drinker. I was a binge drinker. But I don't do that anymore because I've realised the connection between alcohol and exercise. Yeah. And without the alcohol, I can exercise.
Interesting.
And why would I choose any different? Because I feel bloody amazing when I exercise.
Interesting.
So not all the time I want to do it. Like I don't go to the gym like, yeah, I'm going to the gym and I want to do it every day. But I get there and I make sure I get there. And when I do get there, I love it. So it's much more consistent now, but it's that connection for me.
So I'm a little bit obsessed with exercise. For those of you that don't know me, I am a little bit obsessed with exercise. But what's fascinating is recently, I actually let that slip. And okay, there were reasons for that. I had some health stuff going on and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, it's important to stick to your standards. And I feel that is why certain things transpired in my life the way that they did, because exercise is really freaking important to me. And I've now learned a standard that I have to exercise no matter what or who is in my life. I have to do that for me, for just everything. I feel so good. I went for a run this morning and I got back and I'm like, yes, take on the world. And my team were like, God, what's happened to you? Because I'm like, here, what about this? And I'm back. I feel alive. I feel excited. I'm inspired. Right. Before I go off on a tangent, telling everyone about how bloody good I felt this morning, let's look at a few more standards, if you like, because for me, when it comes to maintaining standards, there is no bartering allowed. Now, what I mean by bartering is You're not at a street market in Morocco or in Mexico or in India. You know, you can't say, oh, I'll give you 50 cents rather than €1, or, you know, 50 cents rather than $1. That isn't what this is about. We do not accept discounts when we have standards. And this is why we must know who we are. Now, this is probably going to sound harsh, but most people should be used to it by now. I'm the trigger queen after all. Imagine living in a world whereby we all stuck to our standards. Imagine it, saying no as a full sentence and just accepting that we're saying no without cringing, thinking, oh my God, I need to make up an excuse. Think about all of the things that we've spoken about here. I have to go out and exercise. I have to communicate my truth. I have to love myself. I have to take time out for myself. Like, imagine if every single person around the world did that. How quickly would the healing process take? How quickly would this consciousness shift take? Just like that. So where we feel that we are being out of order by having standards, or when we say no to somebody, we're then guilt tripping ourselves over here, or maybe, you know, you're having to put certain things in place and then you start to feel guilty about it. This is us and our internal dialogue and our internal triggers and traumas surfacing for our healing. How quickly would we rise in love with everything and everyone and every circumstance if we could own the fact that there is no discounts and we just stand in our truth? Now, like I say, I've been humbled massively with this over the last few months, and I'm so grateful for it, because now I know there's an entrance fee, which is my basic standards. And I don't mean a literal give me money, because that would be weird. But now I have a set of standards, and I'm not going to ignore those standards. We feel we're helping people accept low standards by not saying no or not speaking our truth. But what we're actually doing is holding them in trauma. How do you girls feel about that?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Totally. Yeah. It's about taking responsibility for you, isn't it? And really homing in on what's important to you, and then not accepting anything that you don't need to. And, you know, I've said no to a lot of people over the past sort of year or so, and their reaction has been quite interesting. Some of them have flown off the handle at me. Some of them have, you know, why are you saying no to me? What's wrong with me? What, you know, and I can see their traumas coming up to the surface because I'm now standing in my truth. And it doesn't feel, when you start doing it, it doesn't feel that comfortable.
No.
Like, it's something you really have to practice and learn. But because I've started saying no to certain things and certain people, the people that I don't need in my life have moved away. Other people have elevated towards me. I have an amazing circle of people around me now. And I find, like, compared to what I had 3-4 years ago, it's crazy, the difference in the quality of person, the quality of, you know, time spent and energy spent, and it just makes such a difference. It's huge. That. It impacts everything and all the people around you.
I love what you just said, because a lot of people don't realize that a relationship, whether it's a friendship or anything like that, is an energy exchange. You know, people often say, oh, sex is sacred, you know, it's an energy exchange between two people, but so is your time, so is your communication, so is your touch. Like, if somebody just brushes past you in a supermarket, they've got your energy, you've got their energy. Like, we need to really raise consciousness on this. And I love the fact that you've just brought that in. Thanks, Morwenna. Either of you two want to share anything on that?
Sure, I would add to that. So I found that in my relationship with my husband, I had allowed a lot of things to just, I'd enabled a lot of his behaviour, put it that way.
I love the ownership.
So when I started to put in the boundaries, it was like, what do you mean you won't do that? I'm like, no. And then it even got to the point, it was quite interesting, where he's worries about everything now. Like, and so he'll walk in and go, oh, such and such, whatever's happening. And I'm like, yeah. And I go, why aren't you? He goes, why aren't you worried? I'm like, I've only got so many F's to give about that, and I ain't given one about that today, because I actually read that book. And that was about 3 years ago, actually, when I read it. But now they know. And my son now says, Mum's got no F's left to give. She's not giving one about that today. But it's interesting because, yeah, once I put the boundaries in place in the beginning, they were like, why won't you? And the hardest ones now are, so I have, I live with three men, my dad, my husband and son, but I've also got an elderly uncle who's just down the road. And the hardest ones are the two elderly ones because they're old school.
Yeah.
So I have an uncle who I'll be in the middle of doing something and he'll just go, can you get me a glass of water? And I'm like, I'm busy, like my hands are full. I think you can get up and get your own. So with them, it's harder. And sometimes with that, I'll just do it because, you know, he's elderly.
But
whatever.
you do realise, Marie, this is a test, right? This is the test.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
And to be honest, that's the relationship I'm working on right now is
Good
that
job.
one.
Good job.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's-
Well done. Well
Yeah.
done. So, Caroline, is there anything you'd like to add, lovely?
Not really. I think boundaries for me has been one of the toughest lessons as well. I had no idea what a boundary was. Everything was controlled at home. You know, Mum was in charge of everything, and the only boundary I knew was how far I could get away with things. I mean, like before I got an absolute rollicking. And I think unfortunately that's why it's been so hard, because I've lived that for kind of 48 years, something like that. And you teaching me boundaries and to learn to say no. I still feel guilt now when I say no, and that's the hardest thing, because it's like I shouldn't feel guilty. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And it's just a learning process every day. Thank you.
Yeah. But it's good that you acknowledge that you're feeling guilty, because back in the day you would never have known that. You would have had this feeling running through your body and you just would have felt guilty, but you would never have realized, oh, I'm feeling guilty right now. What's the reason behind this guilt that's coming up to the surface? Because remember, every time this happens, it's just about, right, we've got some more healing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's beautiful. And I love your vulnerability, Caroline. A lot of people will be able to resonate with the fact that you're being so vulnerable. So I appreciate that. So I've got a challenge for everybody watching this video. I would like you all to comment in the chat boxes, whether it's on YouTube or on Charlie's channel, about one standard that you are going to add to your rule book from here and what you are going to maintain. Now, as I've just alluded to with Marie, as soon as you have defined that standard, as soon as you have said, right, I am going to speak my truth from here, no matter what that looks like, no matter who I'm speaking to, trust me, you're going to get tested. The second that you've written it down, the universe is going to say, okay, Claire, let's see if you actually are going to stick to this. And there will be a challenge come up and you'll be like, oh, just this once, I'll continue to like water it down. The universe is testing you. So please trust me when I say this. And how many times do I say this in the year through the program? You're going to get tested. You're going to get tested. And everyone comes back and they're like, oh, Lucy, I got tested. And I'm like, I warned you that this is coming. So what we then need to do is define your moment of how you are going to deal with it when it happens, because it will do. What are you going to do? What is your narrative going to be? For example, you know, if somebody is not able to give you the emotional support that you need, what do? Do you ask them, or do you just walk away? Like, this is how we then need to expand this. This is how you really learn to love yourself. So, you know, for me personally, like I say, like one of my standards is I must go and do exercise. Now, if somebody said to me, come back to bed, baby, don't get up, don't go running, it would be like, I'll be back to deal with you later. That's my new narrative, ladies, and that's what I'm sticking to. So can any of you give any little bit of insight into maybe how you would work your new boundary, or the boundary that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah,
I resonate.
go on.
Go more, Anna.
Okay, so on the communication side of things, I didn't just walk away from the person that I referred to earlier in the call. I actually spent the next 2 years trying,
not so hard,
hoping. Yeah, so I kind of retracted back a little bit. I started adjusting my behavior. I started openly communicating with him, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable because he didn't know what to do with that. And I gave him every opportunity I possibly could to start communicating on some sort of different higher level with me, to make me see if it was going to be, you know, not worth me staying, but if that was the right place for me. So I took a long time, and sometimes he would sort of do something and I think, okay, cool, right, we've got to a different level, and then he would sort of retract back. So he just wasn't ready to do that. Yeah. And after that long period of time, I said, I can't do this anymore, and I left the relationship.
Yeah.
But I didn't just walk away. I didn't want it to be, and you say this during the program, like, don't do anything rash. Just start working on yourself, adjust your behavior, stick to your standards, you know, hold yourself where you want to be, and just watch what other people do around you. And that's exactly what I did.
And for most people, like I always say when people join the program, do not do anything for 6 months. Like if you're ready to leave your husband or your wife, please stay there for the next 6 months, because 6 months we can change a lot. But the most important thing in that 6 months is you learn who you are. Most of the time we're reacting because the other person is annoying us, but we don't know why. And we haven't ever told them our standards or our boundaries or our values or our beliefs. So how on earth are they supposed to know? Yeah. So then we just need to communicate where we are at, and then they can decide, and you two can decide as a couple or as a mother, father, like whatever the relationship is, you know, can we make this work or not? And if the fundamental answer is no, then you go in your own separate direction. Yeah. Love that, Morwenna. Thank you for sharing. That's great. Marie, you were chomping at the bit, darling. So
yeah, no, I was going to say I totally resonate with that in the morning, because I've realized, so I also struggle with consistency. I don't like exercising. I don't know anyone that does besides you. I think
I'm a weirdo.
No. So look, the thing is, I love how it makes me feel afterwards, but it's the 10 minutes of getting up and getting ready to go out. That's the hard bit. Yeah. So in the morning, I lie in bed and I'm thinking, I've got to get up, because I've now realized if I don't get up and do the exercise first, I distract myself with journaling. That's who I am. So I find other distractions. Yeah. So I now get up and I do the Tibetan rites, and then I go out and do either HIIT or get on the bike or go for a walk or whatever. But when I'm getting out of bed and my husband, because now it's cold and dark at 6 in the morning. And
lovely in the Northern Hemisphere, just saying.
and he'll be like, are you getting up now? And I can tell from the tone of his voice. And I get that moment of guilt. And then I go, well, if I don't get up now, I won't get it done. So I just tell him. And I'll say, I'll see you later.
Good for
I
you.
never go back. Once I'm up, I'm up.
Yeah,
but I always leave with, I'll be back. And then I never go back.
Exactly. I love that.
Because otherwise, it just doesn't get done.
Otherwise, you'd never do anything. We'd just be in bed all day, wouldn't we? Love that. Okay, great. Thanks for that, Marie. Caroline, how about you, babe?
I was resonating in my head with what Morwenna was saying about the communication, because again, not really something that I've been used to doing. My communication was very much more verbal. But something's come up like with our personal life, and I've actually discovered that because I emasculated my husband through my own traumas, then he's still stuck in that. So he's lost his voice. Yeah. And I've now learned to be able to talk. And I'm asking for input, perhaps, into situations, but he can't do it. So, of course, we're having I'm having to kind of set a boundary. And I said, please, you have to talk to me, because I can't read your mind. And I get that he can't speak to me, because for the past, I would have shouted him down, I've put him down, those kinds of things. So it's a really difficult position now, because Morwenna was saying that her partner would do it momentarily and then not again, and I think they kind of test the water and they gauge things. So
patience,
it is really difficult. Yeah, exactly.
Patience is a big thing when you've emasculated your husband or your partner. So it's a very, very lengthy process. And when I said at the beginning about allowing your partner to feel safe, if you are a woman that has been in your masculine energy, you have to allow patience to kick in so that you can help your partner to feel safe to take back that masculine role. Because all of us girls go, yeah, we want to be our feminine now, but then we have to wait until our partner actually elevates up into the true divine masculine. And this is the issue we've got. And then we're like, oh, I still have to do all this stuff, but I want to be girly now and I want to be the divine feminine. But unfortunately, we've emasculated this person for a year or 10 years or however many years we've been with them. And then all of a sudden, because we want something, boom, we expect them to get it too. But they aren't doing the things that we're doing. Like, they need to get it in their own time, which is why patience is very important. It's so easy in a new relationship if it's not happening, you can just get out. But when you've been married for 20, 30, 40 years, like some of you girls have, you know, like it's totally different. You have to ride the cosmic waves, as I like to call them. I've loved this chat, girls. I absolutely loved it. There's one thing that I would like to end this video on today, because I think it's quite important. When it comes down to boundaries and things like that, the quickest, easiest way to identify whether somebody is controlling or not, or if you are in a healthy relationship, is by saying no to somebody. We touched on it very briefly earlier, and we all said, you know, sometimes people don't like it when we say no to them. And that is a telltale sign of whether you're in a controlling situation or not. You know, people prey on you not having boundaries. People prey on you not being able to say no. So I think that that's probably where we should leave this video today. Ladies, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on. This has been absolutely amazing. I've loved speaking to you as much as I do in, you know, obviously when we work together. All of your details will be below this video, so everybody knows how to follow you or find you. And obviously you can reach out to us at support@lucydavis.com if you've got any questions. Ladies, let's say goodbye to everybody. Charlie, thanks for having us on. Bye. YouTube, thanks for behaving. And we will catch you all super soon in the next video. See you later on, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Bye.